So right here, they're about to do a rundown of the whole timeline.
The probable cause affidavit in the case against the accused four University of Idaho students pieces together the movements of the suspect vehicle and coordinating cell phone location data beginning in the early morning hours of November 13th. At 2:42 a.m., the affidavit alleges that Brian Kohberger's phone places him likely at his apartment on the WSU campus where he was a PhD student studying and teaching criminology. At 2:44 a.m., Kohberger's vehicle and cell phone are on the move. Police say his white Hyundai Elantra is spotted on WSU surveillance cameras traveling north on Nevada Street at Stadium Way.
All right, so what I would like to know about that statement there is when they say that the vehicle and the phone are on the move, are they pulling information from the vehicle, or are they just going off the fact that that vehicle was spotted on camera in the same route that the phone was taken? Because if the defense tries to make the case that that's not even his Hyundai Elantra, that's a completely different car altogether, it's gonna matter if that car's computer, if it's equipped with it, is matching that phone before it's turned off and when it's turned back on. It's going to matter if it's moving with the phone or if they're piecing it together just off of videos where they see the car and they see the GPS on the phone was in that area or went that direction or passed that spot at the same time. Something like that. That would let them know that, you know, the car and the phone are traveling together, and it would rule out that it's not the car. They have to prove that Brian Kohberger is in that car, and Brian Kohberger's team has to instill doubt into the jury, and I guess the general public too, since we're all watching, that he's not even in that car. Like, he's not in the car. He was over here. Somebody else was in this car. Somebody else used his car to do it. But then there was nothing in the car. The car was perfectly clean, right? It's weird. That's why I feel like it's important to know, do they have GPS data from the car or just spotting the car on video, and the GPS data from the phone is only from when he leaves his house till his phone is turned off, died, went airplane mode, whatever. And then at the end of the night, when he's almost back home, he could say he didn't even go very far because that phone's not going to be tracked anywhere else for that night, for that exact time. So I think it's important that Brian Kohberger does have an alternate story, but I don't think it's necessary to have an alternate story in order to say I wasn't in the car. I was at home. I was in the bed. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. Somebody must have took my car if they prove it's his car. And I'm not saying I believe that. I'm just saying it's a possibility, right? Like it's a defense. It's something they're going to try to say.
According to the affidavit, it was here in this area of the WSU campus where surveillance video in Kohberger's cell phone placed him here around 2:47 a.m. According to the affidavit, he spent several minutes in this area where he allegedly turned off his cell phone before heading out of town toward Moscow, Idaho.
So this is where we lose tracking his cell phone. But if they have any kind of GPS from the car, like they used with Alex Murdaugh, a signal from something, GPS, cellular, anything like that, if it has the capabilities installed for that, they should be able to get information off the car itself rather than just seeing it on video here and there. Now, if they can take and put his car there, that might convince a lot of people, even if they can't put him inside the car. If they say his phone was in the car was moving, it's more likely than not that he was in the car. You know, that's not good enough when you're talking about somebody's life. Like, more likely than not is not the standard. Beyond reasonable doubt is the standard. And I don't think it's unreasonable to think that somebody else could have drove his car. His phone could have been left in his car. I don't think it's likely, but I don't think it's unreasonable either. Do you know what I mean?
By 2:53 a.m., Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra is observed heading in the direction of Moscow, Idaho. At 3:26 a.m., the affidavit then places Kohberger's vehicle, now in the town of Moscow, in this residential neighborhood on Indian Hills Drive.
When they're giving this information at court, the prosecutors, the defense, whoever it favors that's going to use this as evidence, they're going to be given the distances between the places that it was seen and trying to say, either prove that it's exactly the right amount of time to get there, or to say, hey, the timing's off. Well, how do we know this is the same car? Blase, blase, right?
A road directly overlooking the Moscow Police Department. The Elantra is picked up on surveillance video moving west past the 700 block of Indian Hills. At 3:28 a.m., video shows the vehicle on Steiner Avenue at Highway 95 as it made its way towards the King Road neighborhood where the victims lived. Then, from 3:29 a.m. to 4:20 a.m., the suspect vehicle, the white Honda Elantra, is observed multiple times on video passing by 1122 King Road during the alleged time of the murders before being seen on videos.
That was kind of spooky how she was saying that right while they were going by the house and looking at it.
Speeding away on Walinta Drive. The probable cause affidavit states that the car likely exited the neighborhood at Palouse River Drive and Conestoga Drive, a road that eventually leads to Pullman, Washington. About 2 hours after he allegedly turned off his cell phone, police say Kohberger turned it back on here near Blaine, Idaho. It's about 10 to 15 minutes south of Moscow, a rural community off Highway 95, and it has its own cell tower. According to the affidavit, from 4:50 a.m. to 5:26 a.m., Kohberger's phone movements show him allegedly moving south towards Genesee, Idaho, and west towards Uniontown, Washington. Kohberger may have taken a well-known back road called Thorn Creek Road at this point in his route towards his apartment. These are all very isolated roads, but Thorn Creek Road is known to be even more desolate. Police allege Kohberger eventually made his drive back into Pullman, Washington from the quiet road of Johnson.
Basically the same thing we already know, that they're claiming that when he left there, he made a big loop, went south, came back around, turned his phone back on, and then came back into Pullman.
Up on this security camera, the first time a camera captured his Hyundai after the murders were committed. By 5:30 a.m., police tracked the movements of Kohberger's cell phone and vehicle back to his apartment.
See, when they say they tracked his cell phone and vehicle, that could be the complete key to this case. I think a lot of people, right, are going to be persuaded, especially since we have so many persuaded that way already. If Brian Kohberger's car has any kind of GPS and it's moving with that cell phone, if his car went to the location, he's done. I guess if he had the statement that he knew that somebody else had his car, maybe he comes out and says, I loaned my car to Mr. Brent Kopaka. Maybe. I'm just saying. That's not a fact. That's not nothing reported. Just thought experiment over here, you know. We do this by the seat of our pants. Whatever just pops in my head, I'll vomit it out here to you guys.
All right, and he's claiming an alibi. How is that going to work? How is that going to work? I mean, he's out pulling an all-nighter, and he's like just driving around, so I couldn't have done it. My alibi is I'm driving around where the murder's taking place in my white Elantra. Are they going to allege someone stole his car that night, borrowed his car that night?
I mean, I guess he could say he was doing DoorDash, or he could have been with somebody, and somebody could be vouching for him that they were with him all night. Maybe he comes out and tries to say that he was with Bethany Funk somewhere else that night. Who knows? Just throwing it out there.